got a little lost, to be honest. I have a feeling that I live somewhere near London instead of near the Black Sea. Because the weather here is just a bummer. I have to work completely soaked by rain. Oh, how I hate rain and cloudy weather. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. Yeah, finally I have neatly mounted the clutch master cylinder. Now I'm gonna completely fasten it when I clean up all this dirt. Huh, a gift of fate. I have tried to install this modern clutch cylinder from another car, and I ran into the issue. This thread on the cylinder has a bigger pitch than the original pipe has. I don't quite remember the pitches precisely, something about 1 and 0.75 millimeters. It is said on the forums to machine some kind of adapter from the smaller thread to the bigger. I was truly upset, but then I saw this little guy. I thought, wait a minute, I can use this plug to connect the pipe with the cylinder. I tried it on and it turned out to be a good solution for this situation. What a wonderful day it would be if the weather were better. I'm really happy with this decision because it requires less work. That is good, but there was another little issue. The cylinder rod was being pushed too far because this bolt is shorter than the original one. That's why it wasn't moving concentrically to the cylinder and the boot was bent. So I managed to solve it by welding another longer nut on the top to match the length with the original rod. And that's it. Now it works as it should. Wow, what an infernal creature. Oh, and here we can see that the life of this rubber boot has ended. Do you see this black drop? This black liquid isn't brake fluid. It's blood. Blood of the dragon. The Virgin Dragon, I think. In the rays of the rising star we could see this. Thanks forum guys for these sketches. Laziness isn't the best companion, so avoid making jerry-rigged adapters on site. Follow the drawings, of course, if you have them. Yeah, bubbles are coming out. Man, it's black as hell. That's insane. It was left in this condition from the previous owner, or maybe it was filled in the factory. Okay, the clutch slave cylinder is installed and working properly. It is perpendicular, or the body is parallel to its stroke. I achieved this by adding washers. I adjusted the angle so it doesn't wear unevenly, like it used to with these cylinders on these cars. And if someone after me wants to change the cylinder, they will just unscrew these bolts and they won't ever need to touch this adapter because it's already adjusted. It has bled perfectly, so I don't need to pay any attention to this unit anymore. I want to remind you that this car has the engine on its back side, so now I need to route a new throttle cable to make it work smoothly, unlike the original one, but for that I will need to remove the gas tank first. I took the speedometer cable housing from another car and combined it with the cable from a scooter. It has a decent inner diameter, and the cable is this. It's quite interesting, it has such a nice synthetic sheath. I think it should have anti-friction properties and it's pretty tough. I'm going to route it here. I have attached this thrust plate. The end of the cable housing will be attached to it. I found this plastic adapter somewhere, so it fits here nicely. We can judge the smoothness by pulling this cable with 2 fingers. I'm pulling it and it returns to the initial position. It wasn't this good with the original cable, so it seems like I won. Okay, I must admit, the pedal has become a lot smoother and softer. It feels even better than in my Civic. That's incredible. I didn't expect this. Now I would like to move the brake pedal even lower by increasing the lever. I have worked really hard with this pedal unit and I am almost satisfied with the result. The clutch pedal is slightly bent, I need to straighten it out a little and change the lever point on the top. Even though it's a weird mechanism in the first place, the acceleration pedal is 100% ready. Even 200%. It's a bummer. With the habitual movement of the fingers, I have checked this chamber under the head valve cover, and there are some quite sharp particles. If I'm correct, this is carbon buildup being washed out from some parts of the engine, even though I cleaned it up as much as I could. It seems like semi-synthetic oil is doing its job. I'm 100% sure this engine has never seen good oil. It feels quite abrasive on the fingertips. I will remind you, these engines never had an oil filter except the centrifugal oil filter, which doesn't work. So if anyone tells me this engine doesn't require an oil filter, I will tell them where to go. Every small technical detail contributes to the overall impression about this old engine. If I'm lucky enough, I will enjoy this car for a long time. I believe that every mod to this engine will make it stronger. Liquid soap, Mr. Mushroom. It helps clean the front beam on your car. Mr. Mushroom, clean your beam until it gleams. What? You have no front beam on your car? Then your car is garbage. No offense. What do I want to do with it? Well, I disassembled it, pulled out torsion bars. They are good, they don't have any cracks, but one thing makes me anxious. I don't like the behavior of these torsion bars. Basically, these are leaf springs, but they work on twisting and they are too stiff. The front of this car weighs nothing, because there is no engine there, so torsion bars don't work at all. Some people add a few sacks of cement and the front suspension starts to work. This unit is completely under-engineered and I want to address this. After some brainstorming, I decided to redesign the mount of the bars. Some people cut this clamping spot and weld it at a different angle to lower the car. I don't want to make it lower, but softer. So I'm going to make it rotate on the bearings. I'm aware that it will become over-engineered after these manipulations. But I have to try, because unfortunately there are no solutions for this issue on the internet. I want to change the principle of how this suspension works. Now it has some tiny coil springs on the shock absorbers, but they are more for show and don't work at all. And it's important to me to save the transverse stabilization. I mean, I can't get rid of the torsion bars because at least wheel levers are held in place thanks to the bars. So I need to leave the stabilized connection between the wheels, otherwise the car will try to jump on its roof on the first corner. But I'm going to allow coil springs to work properly. I was cutting welding spots using an angle grinder. I tried both grinding and cutting discs, and now it should come off.
15 years hence, still a bit of a loner. Neighbors tease me, there goes the tuner. Built the car from trash, tore up the block, singing songs of chrome and an engine knock. Hey, Mustang, oh mine, rusty but so...
Done. Heavy thing. The pipe has been parted from this block. I took 4 roller bearings. This is how it should work. The main holding block goes here, where it basically was. Then we put 2 bearings here, 52 by 25 millimeters. Then the holding block is here and it will hold the torsion bar from lateral displacement. This bolt connects the bar with the block, and that is how it works. Looks like a sandwich. To be honest, it is the 3rd iteration of the front suspension redesign, and it's the least crazy one. At least I can do it in my garage with the tools I have. You know, I need to confess, the first iteration was really bad. I just cut out this holding block and started to assemble the suspension. But then I realized that nothing holds the lever from the lateral displacement. I was disappointed by my stupidity and lack of foresight. Long thought process brought me here. Someone could argue with me that I cut these heavy tubes that held heavy loads. I'm going to start to object a little because I have already removed the biggest part of the loads, particularly the twisting ones, because that specific block supported the front weight of the car with those twisted torsion blocks. Only the lateral displacement remains that will appear in turns. So force factors should go only this way. And everything is quite simple here. Despite cutting these pieces with the angle grinder, I got pretty straight and even surfaces. The parts fit here quite tightly, while allowing the levers to rotate freely. Now I have some soft twisted connection between the levers. I can twist them a little in different directions, even by hand. This means lateral stabilization will be maintained. But the main shock absorbing effect will be maintained by the coil springs. That's what I really wanted to achieve. The partial forces should be absorbed by this central tube I added here. It makes this construction much stronger. The wall suspension unit is rigidly mounted to the body, making it a monolithic structure. This is more than sufficient, although I will closely look after the front suspension during the braking period. I'm completely satisfied with the results. There is no lateral movement but complete rotational freedom. About longevity, those bearings should work forever, in a clean environment with minor forces. Now I'm going to cut this set screw. By the way, I need to come up with a locking nut for it, or Loctite will be sufficient? I don't know so far. You know, broken torsion levers is a common issue on these cars. We eliminated such a possibility because these bars are almost free.
Wild and always kinda strange, dreaming of horsepower that knew no range. Kids at school mocked my car loving ways, drawing Mustangs through my high school days. Teen years hit, still a bit of a loner. Neighbors tease me, there goes the tuner. Built the car from trash, tore up the block, singing songs of chrome and an engine knock. Hey Mustang, oh mine, rusty but so fine. Right through every mile with that vintage style, crew dust and grind. Mustang, oh mine, rusty but so fine. Cruising back in time, just me and the road, oh Mustang, oh mine.
Well, the suspension unit is installed and ready for battle. I'm quite surprised, but all the joints on these tie rods are in good condition. But boots are... I would think they were made of wood. Or they are just too old, so I bought these yellow boots. I think it's polyurethane or something like this. They should serve much longer. Also, I'm changing the grease for the specialized joint grease, and it looks so tasty.
Trimmed the V8, never gave them a raj. Slept in grease, helmet dead and beat. Fixing motors, I was out on my feet. Folks didn't get me, thought I was a gunner. Only Big Bob, our Mass Street corner. Late nights after tools put away.
It's time to reinforce the front strut towers. I'm going to do it like this. I have found such a sheet of metal, 2 mm thick, and I'm cutting and bending it into a seagull-shaped reinforcement plate. It will be installed under the strut tower to distribute the forces from new stiffer coil springs, something like that. And then I'm going to fasten these wings to the body. This is my donor car from the last episode. I have decided to dismount its front beam, so I started to unscrew this main nut from the steering unit, and I was shocked. It wasn't tightened at all. I took this 30 mm wrench, got ready to push it with all the power I have in my arms, and it wasn't tightened. It's impossible. Someone drove this car. This could have led to some unpleasant consequences. So that is why I always have to overhaul the car right after I purchase it. It's about safety. Finally, the beam is on its place. I'm continuing to assemble brake mechanisms. Yes, this car has drum brakes in front as well. Technologies from 1940s. Original brake shoes are NLA, so I have adapted some generic shoes from a more modern car. Just grinded a little those holes for the springs. By the way, the original springs are too soft. I can even stretch it by hand, so I replaced them with the springs from our custom bike. They are much stronger. I'm adjusting the front wheel camber. I came up with this method. I level the car body with the bubble level. Then I make sure that the front beam is also level at these points. It's perfectly level, so I proceed to adjust the wheel camber by unclamping and rotating these upper and lower ball joint studs. As a guide, I attach this thread to the inner side of the wheel arch, and now I can measure with the caliper the distance between the tire and the thread. The gap should be the same in the upper and lower points. I stopped with 20 mm here, so this wheel is adjusted and I can tighten those clamps from the inner side. Now I have to repeat this procedure on the other side, and then I can adjust the toe angle. By the way, here is the seagull-shaped reinforcement plate. I installed stiffer springs here, and now it should work much better. I'm going to refine its shape a little and bolt it to the inner arch. Maybe it doesn't look good, but for my current level of engineering skills, I do my best. At least I need to make some mistakes to make something beautiful in the future. Someday. Rear brakes are overhauled as well, because they were completely seized. I found these new brake cylinders from a modern car, so it should work well. It fits here bolt-on. I just bought and added this adapter from M10 to M12, and that's it. To install these modern brake shoes, I just grinded their ends a little. I don't know how on earth this car was able to brake before, but now it should stop right when I touch the brake pedal. At least these are my dreams about the car that doesn't have a vacuum brake booster. Yeah. Also, I noticed an unhealthy backlash on this rear hub, so I decided to check the bearings and adjust the backlash, but then I found this. This crooked screw was acting as a cotter pin. It's definitely clear that the previous owner wasn't far from my jerry-rigging skills. But I study every day and I want to become a more professional mechanic, so I have to restore justice and use a proper cotter pin here, and nothing will stop me. See you under the hood.